Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about communication cycle and importance of feedback. We are starting with communication cycle. The communication cycle comprises with a total 8 components. The first component in communication cycle is a sender. It is also known as a source. He or she is the person who wants to send the information. The second component it is the receiver. The receiver or the target to whom the information is intended to be sent. How does an idea get from the sender to the receiver? Here it is the third component, it is a message. This is the actual piece of information that is intended to be sent from the source or sender to the target or receiver. Now we have three components, the sender, the receiver and the message. Now we need another component that a sender need to select a common language that can be understood by the target or the receiver. That is encode. Here the source or the sender selects a common language that can be understood by the target or the receiver and encodes the information. It means converts it into the mutually understandable language. After encoding the message by the sender, he need one more component to send the message to the receiver. That is communication channel. Communication channel means the source or the sender selects an appropriate medium or channel, such as a face-to-face dialogue, letters, faxes, telephone calls, electronic mails, and so on, to transfer the information to the target or the receiver. After receiving the message from the sender, the receiver need to interpret that message. The next component it is decoding. Is decoding here the target or the receiver interprets the information that was encoded and sent by the source or sender. In decoding, the target or the receiver interprets the information that was encoded and sent by the source or the sender. After decoding the message from the sender, the receiver need to give a response to the sender. So the last component of the communication cycle it is feedback. It means the target or receiver's response or non-response to the source or sender's information. It can be yes or no or negative or positive. So a communication cycle comprised with these components, total 8 components. They are sender, message, encode, channel, receiver, decode and feedback. Now we can discuss about the meaning and importance of feedback. Of the all 8 components mentioned here, the last one is feedback, which is essential in communication so as to know whether the receivers have understood the message in the same terms as intended by the speaker. Feedback includes both verbal and non-verbal communication and takes formal and informal forms. Formal feedback includes written comments and structured feedback, while informal feedback tracks casual verbal comments and actions. Sometimes a feedback could be a non-verbal cue, such as smiles, sighs, etc., while at other times it can simply be silence, showing agreement or disagreement. In fact, feedback is the receiver's response, which enables the sender to evaluate the effectiveness of his or her message. Formative feedback and summative feedback. As feedback is an important aspect of communication, experts say that feedback should be multidimensional, non-evaluate, supportive, consistent, constructive, objective, timely, and specific. They say that feedback may be formative, which is given throughout the learning process. This type of feedback is meant to determine how students are progressing through a certain learning goal and use it to correct a person of his mistakes. On the other hand, summative feedback is given at the end of the year or unit and is used to evaluate students' learning at the end of an instructional unit by comparing it against some predetermined criteria. This type of feedback is meant to evaluate a person and accordingly reward him for his good actions or punish for his mistakes. For example, when you write a bad handwriting, your teacher gives you a formative feedback saying improve your handwriting to get better marks in your examination. Similarly, when you write in bad handwriting and your teacher fails you in your examination, she gives you a summative feedback in the form of less marks which fails in the examination of that particular subject. Besides, feedback can be descriptive or prescriptive in nature. Descriptive feedback merely identifies or describes one's action, good or not so good. For example, your teacher may say that your communicating style is good, or your verbal communication and non-verbal communication are incongruent, or not so good. On the other hand, prescriptive feedback provides you advice on how you should communicate. For instance, after a speech which you believe was ineffective, you ask your teacher, "Ma'am, how was my speech?" Your teacher responds saying, "You spoke very fast and your pronunciation was not clear. You should slow down your speaking speed and also practice your pronunciation." Specific and non-specific feedback. Apart from all the above, feedback may be specific or non-specific. Specific feedback provides detailed and complete information on what you did well or poorly. For example, after listening to your argument in a debate competition, your teacher may say, "The way you mentioned all the points in a logical order to convey your viewpoint on the issue was very well organized." On the other hand, if your teacher were to give you a non-specific or generic feedback, he or she would have simply said, "Good job" or "You did great." Specific feedback help in modifying your thinking or behavior for purpose of learning by influencing your thought process, while non-specific feedback for the most part is not very helpful. Here I am given a summary of this section: communication cycle and feedback.